basically a lot of this had come out of the Black Lives Matter protests in 2020, and museums, as you probably know, have not always been great at looking at where their collections come from and the provenance and things. And there was a local group founded out of those protests in Lancaster, the Lancaster Black History Group, that was seeing there was this gap in, Lancaster's great about talking about its history, but hasn't always talked fully about the slave trade and the wider slavery business. We did an initial project with the Priory Church at Lancaster, which is just 5 minutes walk from here, and some other local partners, including some local schools and different artists. And that came up with a learning pack. So we've got a learning pack that was co-written with Lancaster Black History Group by Geraldine Onek, and that's available for free for schools to use. So we've got some hard copies of that, or you can download it. And then that was the first project, and then from there we wanted to do something bigger, and we commissioned these portraits. Initially we got together with some local academics and some of the other museums in Lancaster and said, right, we want to talk about how we look about our collection, and a lot of the collection, not all of it, but a lot of it has links to the slave trade, including that we've got portraits of people whose families were involved in the slave trade or in the West Indies trade, and so whose families invested money getting goods made by enslaved Africans in the Caribbean. And we've got a big collection of Gillows furniture. So Gillows were a local maker in Lancaster that made beautiful furniture, but initially a lot of the furniture they made was made with mahogany, and they also invested in a slave ship in the 1750s as well. And we'd never really been particularly upfront about that information. The idea was based on, there's a database at Glasgow University where they've listed out adverts for runaway slaves, so people who were escaping slavery and their enslavers advertised to get them back, basically.
So when the schools came, what was the project? What did they do? What did they get?
So the schools, we worked with 3 schools, Barham School, Cathedral School and Dallas Road, and they came here, they worked, so we split the classes, so half the class would work with Lela, who's the artist, and they would produce these amazing portraits and also some books as well that we haven't displayed in this room, and then the other half would work with Geraldine Onek, who's from the Lancaster Black History Group, but she's also a primary school teacher, which is great. And she developed a workshop that was delivered in the period rooms, in the drawing room and the dining room, and they're walking, so the children are walking around looking at the objects and learning a bit about the history and learning about the slave trade. So they've got kind of the 2 elements. It was to give them that background, that knowledge about their city, because they're all Lancaster kids. So, one of the key aims of this project was kind of challenge local attitudes to slavery and the slave trade, because people don't always realise, a lot of these beautiful Georgian buildings that you see around, it's partly funded by money from the slave trade and the West Indies trade, and to make, try and get the next generation to be more aware of this and to talk about it.
And it isn't about guilt, is it? It's about understanding your history.
Yes, exactly, that's it, and raising awareness, understanding the history, and also how it impacts people today as well. Obviously racism and sort of structural inequality and things, all of these things, can in part be traced back to this industry that used to happen in Lancaster.